Hello everyone, I'm Kevin, otherwise known as Forum BX257, here to bring you another 1980s G.I. Joe toy review. And this week, on my second Dreadnok theme month, I'm going to be taking a look at the 1989 Dreadnok Poacher Naugahyde. Now, Naugahyde's name is a portmanteau of the word gnaw, to chew, and Naugahyde, which is a type of a synthetic treated leather. Now, you'd actually have to sort of see it printed out in order to get the joke, because just listening to it, it just sounds like Naugahyde by itself. Naugahyde here doesn't make any comic book appearances, but makes his first cartoon appearance in the DiC animated 1989 5-part miniseries Operation Dragonfire in Part 1. Very interestingly enough, he does make a few appearances during the rest of the series. However, his wild boar, which isn't actually named on the card or even on his file card, doesn't make any cartoon appearances either, which is very strange because the DiC animated series tend to be a little more, I guess, child-friendly in that sort of sense, and you would think that they would give him an animal companion there if they had the chance.
Naugahyde here comes with an amazing amount of accessories. First, we'll take a look at his weapon. A rather large rifle with a removable and positionable bipod. Kind of looks like a skeletal takedown type of a rifle. I'm not sure if this is based on anything real world. It could be, though. Next, he comes with a bow. And to accompany the bow, he has what the contents list on the card calls a arrow backpack, but normally we would just call this a quiver. It does have some nice detail in there, sculpted to look like stitching. One very odd thing about this is where the back peg is. It's very low considering the length of this item. So it does kind of make it stick out really far up on the figure's back here, which I suppose is okay if you're trying to simulate him reaching over his back and pulling out one of the arrows. He also comes with a shin knife, which has some nice storage right there in his boot. His boot is, of course, just sculpted permanently like that. And the shin knife itself is sculpted in a way that really reminds me of a bayonet. He also comes with a removable hat. It's actually quite rubbery, so it stays on his head quite well. Of course, it has that upturned side, just so that kangaroos can't attack him from the left side, because that's supposedly the myth. And last but not least, he comes with, quite frankly, I think the only improvised weapon that he has, which is pretty much the only thing that the Dreadnoks generally have in common, this type of improvised kind of weapons, his wrist machete. And it's just clipped on just to his wrist. It actually stays on really well onto his wrist, unlike road pigs weapons, which tend to pop off. This one actually goes onto his wrist quite well, goes onto his other wrist equally well. And one thing I found was kind of interesting, for storage, even though this is probably was not intended. Onto this, I'm going to assume is a gas grenade or something, or a smoke grenade or something. You can actually put it on there as well. It fits on and stays on relatively well. In addition to all of his accessories, he also comes with an animal companion, a wild boar. A very accurate sculpt for one. One very interesting thing about the boar is, in addition to the painted white mane, he also comes with a pierced earring, which matches the one that Naugahyde himself comes with. Naugahyde just doesn't look like the rest of the Dreadnoks. They are having mostly a post-apocalyptic and biker gang type of a look to them, whereas Naugahyde is very brightly colored and has that sort of animal hunter theme going for him. Which isn't to say that he doesn't look dangerous or evil. He totally does. As a matter of fact, he kind of reminds me of a knockoff of a Spider-Man villain called Kraven the Hunter. What with his animal pelt vest and his animal tooth necklace. Of course, it's really hard to ignore that sneering, evil look on his face. One very interesting thing is that he has an anti-G.I. Joe tattoo on his arm here. Now, I know what you're thinking. How on earth do you take this guy seriously, much less integrate him into your G.I. Joe universe, when he is basically a poacher, or a big-time animal trapper? How is this guy a threat to the G.I. Joes at all? Well, the truth of the matter is that a lot of the G.I. Joes had animals themselves. Now this guy is very much a threat, and trained and equipped to deal with all of these guys. I already mentioned Naugahyde seems less like a Dreadnok and more like a Cobra mercenary, and that anti-G.I. Joe tattoo doesn't help, since Dreadnoks are the enemies of civilized society in general, and not G.I. Joe specifically. He's the last new addition to the Dreadnok sub-team in the vintage 1982 to 1994 run, and all the other bad guys in the 1989 year were troopers. Perhaps Hasbro felt he wasn't strong enough character-wise to be a major blood-like mercenary unassociated with any one faction, and dumped him into the Dreadnoks just so that he could fit in somewhere. Who knows? I'm on the fence as to whether I should keep him with my Dreadnoks or with the other Cobra individuals. Despite the massive amount of accessories, he's not hard to find on the aftermarket, complete, and for a fair price. You'd think the bipod, often missing on G.I. Joe action figure accessories, would be hard to get, but it doesn't seem so. It fits on the rifle snugly, and it's large enough not to be overlooked if separated. Like Thrasher, Naugahyde wasn't given a real name or place of birth on his file card, despite the 6 other Dreadnoks having them listed. In 2011, as part of the 7-figure Dreadnok battle set, he was finally given a real name, but somehow Hasbro lost the copyright to use Naugahyde, despite the unique spelling. The modern interpretation of the figure is called Gnaw, with his real name being Clyde Hyde, or Clyde Gnawgahyde. A place of birth still isn't listed though, and he didn't come with his signature boar animal companion. Well, that's all the time I have right now. Please check out my Facebook page for more information and behind-the-scenes photos for these reviews. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for next time to see another 1980s G.I. Joe toy review. See you then.